Recently, I had a friend tell me how terrified they were of algebra, specifically factoring. So this quick tutorial is going to break down why you don't need to be afraid of algebra, specifically factoring, and we'll do that with an example. I find the best way to learn a concept is to see it worked out. So let's start with an easy one. I'm going to use x squared plus 4x plus 4. Don't worry, I'll get my hand out of the way and let you see it. Okay, and in order to do this method, I've kind of come up with a rhyme. Actually, I didn't come up with it, somebody else did. Just heard about it during my studies in college. So in order to understand how to work the rhyme, we first need to know what the components are we're looking at here. So first, we'll start with our first variable here, which happens to be x squared. Now, by the way, if you don't know, that little 2 just means this x is multiplied times itself twice. So if this was a 2, it would be 2 times 2. If this was a 4, it would be 4 times 4. That little number just means you multiply this times itself. Okay? Immediately in front of every one of these variables is a number. Now, we don't indicate the number 1. Anything different than a 1, we'd have the number sitting here. So the coefficient automatically, if there is no number immediately preceding that x squared, it's automatically a 1. Okay? And that coefficient we refer to as a. The next coefficient is the number immediately sitting in front of the x. Get this camera to focus. And that number happens to be 4. That's b. Okay? And our constant is our last number, and that happens to also be a 4. Okay? So we know that a, in this case, is 1, b is 4, c is 4. The rhyme you need to know is let's find factors of c that add up to b. Let's find factors of c that add up to b. All right? So c in this case is 4. What are the factors of 4? Well, 4 times 1 is equal to 4. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. We also know that a negative 4 times a negative 1 is equal to 4. And we know that a negative 2 times a negative 2 also equals a 4. So our rhyme is factors of c that add up to b. So what factors in this list, if you were to put a plus sign between them, would add up to this 4 right here? Well, 4 plus 1 is 5. That doesn't work. 2 plus 2, well, there you go. 2 plus 2 is 4. So there's our factors. 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 plus 2 is 4. So the way we factor is we split out into 2 parentheses. Always start with 2 blank parentheses. And we take this x squared and we split it up, and we put an x in the first spot of each parenthesis. So in your mind, remember, these 2 x's came from that x squared right there. All right? Now, what did we determine were our factors of c that added up to b? They were 2 and 2. So that's a positive 2. That's a positive 2. So I'm going to put plus 2, and I'm going to go plus 2. All right? So x squared plus 4x plus 4 factors into x plus 2 times x plus 2. All right, you say, well, that's great. How would I check it? Well, that brings us to another concept. Have you ever heard of the term or the acronym F.O.I.L? F-O-I-L. It goes like this. F-O-I-L is first, outer, inner, and last. Okay, first, outer, inner, last. So let's label them. If we're looking at these 2 parentheses that we just created when we factored this polynomial, our first two terms are going to be x's here and here, right? The first term inside this parenthesis is an x. The first term inside this parenthesis is an x. So we can label those our f's, okay? So to not muddy the paperwork, I'm going to copy it down here. Okay? These x's are first, so we're going to put f's above those. Then we say, well, outer, okay? What are our outer terms? Well, going back to these two parentheses that we built, the outer terms, or if you will, are going to be what? That x, because it's on the outside over here, and that 2, because it's on the outside over here. So those are our outers. So we're going to label those O and O. And then we have our last terms. Or I'm sorry, we have our inner terms. All right, so what are our inner terms? Well, if you look at the two parentheses, the inner term here is closest to the center is a 2 here, and the closest to the center is an x here. So we're going to label those our i's. Okay? And what are our last terms? Well, in terms of these parentheses, our last terms are a 2 and a 2. So we'll label these L and L. Now multiplying first, outer, inner, last, we get f times f. Well, that's x and x. That's x squared. X times x is x squared. And then we get outer x times 2 is 2x. So plus 2x. And then we have our inner, these two. 2 times x is another plus 2x. And our last is this 2 times 2. What is 2 times 2? That's 4. And if we combine like terms, we come back with x squared plus 4x plus 4. And that is what we started with. So we factored by using factors of C that add up to B. And we checked our work with FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. I hope this helps someone. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. And don't be afraid of algebra. It's not that bad. You can do it. Have a blessed day.